in steel and cement use of 35 and 56% respectively. I'm not going to go through all of these, but here's one: enhanced building use. They want to reduce to a 20% reduction in demand for new buildings. So this goes back to where they say they want you to live in these communes, essentially, you know, huge buildings in very, very tiny apartments. I think when Jay Dyer was talking to me about it, he said something like 1.5 meters per human being and 2.5 humans per unit, whatever that means. So the reduction of, well, the attack on the construction industry is about that, because they want more people in these communal buildings where you share kitchens and bathrooms and all of this other disgusting stuff. Now we'll look at food. So they say that food emissions are responsible for a total of 13% of the emissions in C40 cities as of 2017. No doubt that they'd be saying that that's higher now. So look at the source of emissions that they have here. They've got land transportation, on-site chemicals, so on and so forth. Livestock rearing, 25%. In food production, the most significant source of emissions are those released in agricultural activities. It should be noted that 65% of the on-site crop agriculture emissions are associated with production of animal-based products, cheese, milk, so on and so forth. You know, the stuff that you need to be healthy and have strong bones. Livestock rearing, and then 34% of on-site crop agriculture emissions, which is why they want to completely destroy the agricultural industry. Look at these interventions, though. This is absolutely shocking. Dietary change. So the progressive target is 16 kilograms of meat per person per year. The ambitious target is 0 kilograms of meat consumption. The progressive target of dairy consumption is 90 kilograms per person per year. The ambitious target, which remember, that's where they want to go, is 0 kilograms of dairy consumption per person per year. They still want to give you 2,500 calories though, but it'll be through their modified foods that, you know, Bill Gates and so on and so forth are feeding you. This is the most shocking thing that I have seen to completely, you know, obliterate meat and dairy, something that humans have been consuming for thousands of years that we need for our health, to tell you that they want you to consume 0 kilograms of that as the ambitious target. And again, I go back to the point where it says, oh, we're not necessarily advocating for the ambitious targets. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, because they've told us that they are. And because it is an incentives-based membership for C40, they will do that to get more. They will aim for those KPIs to get more incentives. It's diabolical. We'll move to the clothing and textiles. They say that 4% of total emissions is due to this. So the result, or the targets, are progressive target only 8 new clothing items per person per year, and the ambitious target is 3 new clothing items per person per year. And they talk about supply chain waste there. Now, again, while I said I am all for us being less consumeristic as a society, this is obliterating your choice. So when they have the CBDCs set up, you go and purchase a 4th clothing item this year, you're in trouble. Your bank account gets locked, or worse still, you can't actually make the purchase. So all these people that are advocating for digital currency and think that this digital world is somehow better and more secure, this is what they're doing to you. They're telling you, no, you can't buy more than this per year. And it's not an education process where you've made that decision, albeit you might think that's a good thing. No, you're not allowed, and CBDCs will make sure you're not allowed. And if you do somehow, you know what we used to tackle protesters to the street for not muzzling themselves with something we know doesn't work. What happens if you do buy a 4th item of clothing at a marketplace? If they have these targets and they are going to be enforced by the mayors of the smart cities with the foreign police officers that are being brought in now, instead of our own police officers, like they are in Australia and the state of California, and no doubt will be happening everywhere else very soon. Those people, what are they going to be policing you at the local market? Will they even be allowed a local market? because God forbid you buy an additional piece of clothing. That's not allowed. And you can just imagine what these New World Order goons are capable of, like we saw the police over the past 3 years, what they'll be capable of. Are they going to start beating pregnant women on the street because they wanted to buy a more comfortable bra while they're pregnant? Is that what's going to happen? Because we're not meeting our ambitious targets and the mayor is losing financial incentives because we haven't met those ambitious targets? Do you see the dystopian ghetto future that is facing us as we speak? It's absolutely horrendous. And then if we want to move to private transport, apparently 8% of total emissions is due to private transport. So we're going to make sure that we're going to reduce the ownership. So progressive target by 2030 is 190 vehicles per 1,000 people, which means a lot of ride sharing, which is why Uber exists. And if you saw Zero Time earlier this week, if you haven't seen it yet, please go to zmedia.com and watch my Zero Time broadcast, our broadcast on what is happening with Ukraine and who's actually backing it. Uber is backing Ukraine 24. Ukraine is earmarked to be the world's first New World Order city, fully functional. And so organizations like Uber that have conditioned the public to ride sharing were all part of it from the beginning, and they're backing this. And of course, the ambitious target in 2030 is zero private vehicle ownership. The optimum lifetime is 20 years for the lifetime for body of a vehicle, shell and interior, and the ambitious target is 50 years lifetime for body or a vehicle, shell and interior. How on earth are we going to do that with electric vehicles that are mass produced? Right now, they're being mass produced. They're not going to start making vehicles that last longer. Nothing is made to last longer. That's the other aspect of this. So while we can reduce consumerism, you know, limit the amount of additional things that we don't need, buying those, yeah, great. That's great. But what is the quality of the items that we're going to be limited to? Those 3 clothing items that people are allowed to buy every year, are they going to be rubbish from a sweatshop in China, or are they actually going to be quality items? Because the rubbish from a sweatshop in China, who is the largest producer of global emissions in the world, and no one's talking about that, but those materials are not quality materials. So the 3 items that you're allowed to buy every year will just fall apart, and it's too bad, so sad, don't you dare, otherwise your social credit score's impacted. And again, the same thing with these vehicles. I mean, zero private vehicle ownership by 2030. That's the ambitious target, guys. Did you get vaccinated so that you can travel? Oh. Because here are the goals. Progressive goal for 2030, 1 short-haul return flight, less than 1,500 kilometers, every 2 years per person. The ambitious target for 2030 is 1 short-haul return flight, less than 1,500 kilometers, every 3 years per person. How are those injections to travel going for you? They're not going to get you very far, according to this plan. And forgive me for being a bit cynical here, but I'm sure that many people share my frustration when we saw people saying, oh, I got the vax so I can travel. Your compliance led us here. I hope that people realize what they've contributed to as well through their compliance. The fault is not only on the people orchestrating this, and I have compassion for the people that were fooled, but I'm talking about the ones who said, oh, this global conspiracy, please. Just get vaxxed so we can go back to normal. There is no normal. And this report should tell you exactly how there will never be a normal as long as everyone keeps going along with this. Another intervention, consumption intervention, is electronics and household appliances. So they want those to have a 7-year optimum lifetime of laptops and similar electronic devices. That is both the That is both the progressive and the ambitious target. So all of your, new iPhones and all of this sort of stuff that you were getting every single year conditioned to, because they purposely slow your phone down once they release a new phone. So you've got to get the new one. That's all going to end because it's all going to be integrated with the human being. So we're not even going to really need a lot of these devices if people, and of course I'm describing the future that they envision, if people go along with it, because they will be the devices. In fact, many of them already are. So, of course, they talk about a just transition to a low-carbon economy. Justice, all of a sudden they care about justice, and they say to avoid climate breakdowns across the world, including in C40 cities, major industries such as energy generation, transportation, agriculture, construction, electronics, and clothing and textiles will have to undergo significant structural changes. And listen to this, though. When they talk about the delivery of these consumption interventions, they say that governments, residents, and businesses need to collaborate, but they go here to, for example, changing the story, achieving dietary change. Cities can work together. Okay, let's work together. Listen to what they say. City governments can use both their influencing and direct powers to drive dietary change for residents. For example, they can convene key actors through food boards or other task forces for healthy eating. Use of their powers, although arguably making a small direct impact, can be an effective influencing tool. So they give the instance of changing menus in school and public buildings, encouraging large city employers to follow suit. Well, the encouragement really is just taxing people more and claiming that it's somehow reducing the effects of their carbon emissions. But it also is, when they say direct powers, number one, yes, they influence through business, and they've already done that with all of the, corporations, large corporations taking up the ESG nonsense. They are also working, so that's the covert aspect of it. The businesses that don't align with this will be destroyed by design. And then the direct powers comes in. Well, now you haven't done what we said, so now we're going to take control. And that's the plan for everyone. And again, I just go back to this thing that they are incentivized based on meeting their KPIs and these ambitious targets. So of course they will go to extreme measures to meet those targets if it benefits them. So this part is really hilarious to me because they say they're tackling emissions through a wider range of city consumption interventions. So these are some of the other things that aren't outlined in this report that they want to target. So utilities, e.g. electricity consumption, which I did mention earlier, government activities, public transport outside the city, example by rail and coach, so on and so forth, household chemicals. Listen to this, miscellaneous. This covers a broad range of remaining categories, such as DIY equipment, etc., etc. So reducing your ability to provide for yourself, manufacture for yourself. Are they going to ban certain machinery? Are they going to ban you having certain items in your house so that you can survive outside of the matrix? Yes, they will. Yes, they will go to those lengths. And they haven't outlined it in this report because that would be alarming. They're creating a complete dependence on the government, dependence on the one world government environment. And the reason for that is because eventually they want you to have no choice. Bow the knee or die. And that is coming in the future. And you can see how they're setting it up through this. They also talk about carbon pricing here, which is simply making the items that they don't want you to have completely unaffordable. Obviously, meat will be one of those. Fresh fruit and vegetable will be one of those, anything agricultural, because they don't want you eating food that's good for you. They want you starving, weak, and weak-minded. They say here that most of the above-mentioned climate actions on global, national, and local levels have to take place within the next 10 years. That means by 2030, in line with Agenda 2030 goals. And then we'll move to the conclusion now. So the C40 cities are at the front line of climate action. I'm going to bring up the map again because I think I was covering Australia at the start, so I'll bring it up one more time at the end of this. But it says that C40 cities are at the front line of climate action as evidenced by their commitment to Deadline 2020 and the measures they've already taken to reduce their emissions. I mean, who asked for this? Which people agreed to this? Which real science did they present to us that proves that this is a necessary action? Or did they just do it through virtue signaling campaigns and fake protesters and Greta Thunberg like they did with COVID when paid actors and celebrities said, you need to do this. Climate action now. You even see the bumper stickers, climate action now. Give me a break. And of course, just to finish that, they say focusing on consumption-based emissions enables a city to consider the positive impact it can have on emission reductions within and beyond its borders. And that's talking very much about the borders that you're not allowed to leave. So I just wanted to one more time go over these cities. As you can see, in Australia, it's Melbourne, Sydney, Auckland in New Zealand, Cape Town in South Africa, Durban, Johannesburg, I can't pronounce that, Nairobi, Lagos, Accra, Abidjan, Freetown, Dhaka, Nairobi, Addis Ababa, Jakarta, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Ho Chi Minh City, Quezon City, Hong Kong, I can't pronounce those, Yokohama, Seoul, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Mumbai, Karachi, Ahmedabad, Delhi, Dhaka, I said that one, Dubai, Amman, Tel Aviv, Athens, Istanbul, Rome, Milan, Barcelona, Madrid, Lisbon, Paris, Heidelberg, Berlin, Warsaw, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Oslo, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, London, Salvador, Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Curitiba, Buenos Aires, Santiago, Lima, Quito, Bogota, Medellin, Mexico City. Mexico City, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. I don't know how to pronounce that. Miami, New Orleans, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Vancouver, Seattle, Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Philadelphia, New York City, and Washington, D.C.
Habasi. Real life. Tag. Groovy. You could lose your life for a word, these are the last days. You could lose your spouse for a night, this is the last page.
And our biological.
That you've done, this is the last stage. And y'all done just for all that you've done, this is the last wave.